Thank you guys so much for joining us today. I'm Carley Knobloch. I'm a digital lifestyle expert and smart home consultant for a number of different consumer-facing brands and media partners. And my home base on the web is carleyk.com, where I basically help a consumer audience, the chief household officer, if you will, find their way through all of this rapidly changing personal technology, home technology, and connected kitchen technology. I am thrilled to be talking with two gentlemen today who are from companies with a storied history that are reinventing themselves in a fast-changing market, how they're looking at big data, the changing habits of consumers, and the evolving relationship that they're going to have with consumers as these appliances make changes and become connected. So I'm joined by Larry Portaro, who is the head of GE's FirstBuild, which is an innovation accelerator that combines a global co-creation community and a state-of-the-art micro factory, and we're going to unpack what that means, to invent the next generation of appliance products. I'm also joined by Chris McGugan, who is the general manager for innovation at Kenmore. He manages and drives innovation for the Kenmore brand and is overseeing an historic change at Kenmore, the first time the brand will be sold outside of Sears in its nearly 100-year history, thanks to its new partnership with Amazon. So, Larry, we'll start with you. The FirstBuild website describes itself as an online and physical co-creation community. So tell us what that means exactly, and can you walk us through bringing a new generation of home appliances to life?
Well, sure. So we're FirstBuild. Our mission is to invent what's next, but to do it a little differently. We want to do it socially. So we're a separate team. We're actually located on the campus at the University of Louisville, and we open our doors every morning at 9 o'clock Monday through Saturday and invite people to come in and create with us. Now, we know not all the great ideas happen in Louisville, so we also have an online co-creation community at firstbuild.com. And again, we invite people to come in. What are their ideas of what they'd like to see in their home? What are problems they're facing? And we kind of facilitate that conversation. And the things that come to the surface become projects for us. So the microfactory comes in the fact that we have the ability to pretty much manufacture small quantities of any device. So our development model is really agile. So people talk about agile software development. We do agile product development. So we get into 2-week sprints. We manufacture physical devices every 2 weeks, interact with our customers, and get their feedback to try to get to a minimally viable product, an MVP. And then we sell it. So we are a design, build, sell model, all out of the same space. And we sell things sometimes through crowdsourcing like the Opal, or we'll make small batch sizes like our Paragon induction cooktop, or sometimes we'll even do made to order like our large pizza oven for the residents. So that's a little bit about us. It's really about starting with the consumer and understanding what the consumer would like.
Got it. We're going to talk about the Opal later. I wanted to ask you, GE is your parent company. Many companies like GE, and I'm sure maybe even some representatives from companies, large companies are sitting in the audience today, they yearn to think and act more nimble like a startup. But it's incredibly challenging for established brands. So what do you think it is about GE FirstBuild that's working, and why is it working inside of a large company like GE?
Well, GE Appliances, our parent. GE Appliances CEO was CTO at the time, Kevin Nolan. FirstBuild's kind of his brainchild. How do we innovate at a faster pace? How do we allow ourselves to try? I mean, innovation, you can't bat 1,000 being innovative, or you're really not going to be innovative. So FirstBuild is really built on the premise of, can we take a small team, try in the right size experiment or trials, and do that very quickly so we can try quite a bit and see what consumers love. What are we solving for a consumer? So that's kind of I think our mission and our definition really helps us. But on top of that, I think we get a lot of support to try things and maybe outside of our comfort zones. I mean, like our parent GE Appliances, we'll partner when it's appropriate to deliver the right thing for our customer. So like GE partners with Drop or Nest or Amazon. We also will work out and work with others to be able to bring the right types of products. So when we have expertise like we do in precision cooking, we could work with some companies maybe like Tasty to help them deliver products that will delight their consumer.
Very cool. Chris, Kenmore, as I mentioned, is about to be sold outside of Sears for the first time ever, thanks to the Amazon partnership. What do you see are the downsides to not having that in-person assisted purchasing experience? And then what are you seeing as the upsides?
Sure, thanks. So we actually are already selling on Amazon. So we opened that market up at the beginning of August in Los Angeles, and we're in greater Los Angeles, Orange County, and now in Chicago area as well. What are the downsides? The downsides, I think, when we think about how many people buy appliances, you're often putting a big piece of equipment in your house. It's a big box. It's a refrigerator or a washer or a dryer. And often you want to touch and feel and see it. There's a lot of people who really want to know what that aesthetic looks like up close and personal. So that's one challenge, I think, of buying online. And so thinking differently about how the assortment plays, how you offer information, how you build content. Obviously, when you're an in-store experience, it's very easy to walk through an upsell model and look at the features and trade-offs between different pieces and parts. So I think as an online retailer, we're having to learn how better to provide our information flow and work through that selling process. What are the downsides? I don't see a downside right now. For me, it's I'm opening an additional consumer that wasn't walking into a brick and mortar location. And we think about the consuming population, the next consuming population, where online is the absolute means in which things happen. We're unique in that our distribution network allows us to handle same day, next day, and 2-day delivery across a national footprint, and that ties in directly with the Amazon Prime model. So we're very pleased to be part of that platform and that footprint.
I was saying to you backstage that anything I can shop for online, I do at this point. And even when it comes to buying something that's a huge financial, has a huge price tag like a washer and dryer, I feel like the in-person assistance is in kind of an artificial environment. Like unless I was able to literally put that on my, in a bag and take a washing machine home and try it out in my own life, sometimes I don't see the value of being in person to look at something in a sterile showroom and not really get to see how it washes the clothes. So I think the impetus for everybody in the audience, but as well for you guys, is really going to be how you communicate all the benefits online so that people really can see not just that there's a washing machine for sale, but why it's different than other washing machines. And it's probably a challenge for everybody in this room who's selling either direct to consumer or just selling online in general.
Yeah, I think there's some technologies that are evolving that are going to help us with some of those, with the augmented reality pieces that are starting to be more mainstream. We can start to get a little bit deeper into that virtual experience, if you will, of feeling it, so to speak.
Great. When you and I first met just minutes ago, I was telling you that I thought I was the only person who really cared about what you call on your website the good ice. Okay, so those little ice pellets that kind of just like crunch in your mouth, and I thought I was the only person who thought that was like special.
It's our secret. It's okay.
Right. That special ice that you only get at a restaurant. And what your audience came to discover is that even if you want to buy a residential unit that makes the good ice, it's $2,000 or $3,000. So you guys created a residentially appropriate version of that product for several $100s. I'll let you better qualify the price tag, but also explain what it is and why you chose that as one of your first projects to create, how that came to be.
Oh, thanks. It really goes back to co-creation for us. That was an idea on our website that was shared and said, hey, I don't want to go to the drive-thru to get ice. I don't want to go to the store. And you're right, we looked into it, and it's not in itself a new technology, but it was a high bar for most consumers to attain. It's not just the price tag, but you also have to build it in. It may not fit into your kitchen. You have to hard plumb it. So by investigating all those things, we were able to come up with, kind of a basic spec of, hey, can we make this somewhat portable, something that could be hand created or hand filled. But then even, I guess, more onto that, we still weren't really sure we had a great idea. And that's where funding came in, and we offered this, and it was quite successful. But as we look back, even the appearance of this, we actually did design challenges on our website so the consumers, not only that who would buy it, but how do they want it to look? How do they want to interact with it? So I think it's a great example of when you really try to get zero distance between you and your consumer and give them a voice, it can work.
To me, it speaks to, and the millennial word is the M word, I call it. It's so overused and overblown, but there really is this trend, especially with social media, for consumers to be so much a part of the product after it's already been created. And so it seems like a natural evolution that the consumer is going to be a part of the product as you're creating it. And insofar as companies can be more open and receptive to feedback and not just go behind closed doors and then present something and hope that people love it, I think it's especially in this age of such rapid innovation, it's such a huge opportunity if it's something that companies are really open to looking at. Chris, will you explain the Alexa-enabled replenishment program and how that is going to change, or how you anticipate it will change Kenmore's relationship with its consumers?
Sure. We talked some about this earlier this morning. The Dash replenishment service is, it's kind of an augmentation of what they were doing with Subscribe and Save, if you will. Which is great, unless you're like me and you kind of, it's a set and forget, and all of a sudden a product changes sizes and you end up with 54 rolls of toilet paper that you didn't need. And so with DRS, having the appliance automatically signal when you've used through enough of your consumable to automatically reorder that replenishment is a really nice to have. With more and more things that just come delivered, knowing that you were using a 71 pack of Tide and you'd use 61 of them, having it show up on the 5th day, hey, that's a pretty cool experience. And so we're excited to be part of that program and enabling our smart appliances to be, part of that living in a connected home environment, not just being able to look at how many times your door was opened or remote start something. Actually having it provide a useful function in your home, I think, is really important. So we are excited about that.
Something that I talk a lot about is tech for tech's sake, and I think there are many companies out there saying, "Oh, we need an app-controlled appliance because everyone else is making something that's app-controlled or has this technology layer on," and not enough companies are slowing down and saying why, or what actually, to what you just said, would be really useful to the consumer. It also offers you another revenue stream, I would imagine, or I'm not exactly sure how the pricing works or in terms of your relationship with Amazon, but I think I'm imagining it would also offer you a lot more control over your consumers to say, these are the compatible detergents that we recommend for our washing machine. These are the ones that we would recommend that you subscribe to through our machine, and these maybe are not. I know that washing machines often run into trouble with detergents being used incorrectly or in the wrong proportion. So is there anything that's happening there that you feel like gives you a little bit more of a dialogue with the consumer about what they're using in your machines?
Conceivably that absolutely could exist. I think one of the interesting challenges of the kind of the pod mentality that's going on today is the appropriate dosing of washer detergent is an interesting challenge. If you happen to have a large capacity front load washer and you fill it completely full, one pod will not wash your clothes correctly. And that's one of those things that you don't think about because you got a pod and it's just supposed to work. Right. We're looking at ways
or rather you assume then that your washing machine isn't very good because you didn't put in enough detergent.
Right. That's right. So what we're looking at, and this is one of the big benefits as a product maker of having connected appliances, is I can look how often you load your washer to capacity because, when it first turns on and it's spinning around and around, it's just weighing your clothes and how much water to put in. And that's very helpful for us then to start offering dosing solutions. So we're looking at how we take the data component of what's happening in the field and turn that into a user benefit of providing guidance on what and how often to do those sorts of things.
Great. I'll start with you, but I have a question for both of you, which is, how are you guys thinking about security in the age of Internet of Things? Should consumers be concerned about adding yet another connected device to their home? Can you guys speak individually to what your companies are doing to stay ahead of and make sure that these are products that consumers can feel good about in terms of not opening their homes up to hackers or problems with security?
No, it certainly is something we take very seriously. This is where FirstBuild being part of General Electric Appliances is very helpful. That legacy, a dedicated team that is working to secure not only devices but data, a team that takes a design and depth approach to make sure that there's multiple layers of security in our systems and our devices, and actually a team that uses third parties to ensure that products meet specifications. So, and there are good companies that are doing these things, and I guess how I would turn that is find those companies and use the products. Because the products, when they're connected, you can curate an experience for yourself that makes a product so much more than if it wasn't connected. And it makes it something that can be enjoyable and useful and really something that's your own. So.
Chris?
Yeah, just to echo Larry's comment, we take security very, very seriously. And in fact, from every device that we bring to market, it is uniquely secured in itself. From the connection that it makes to your phone, connected to your home Wi-Fi network, and all the way through our cloud services encrypted in multiple layers, as you mentioned as well, with a key infrastructure that allows us to be very, very careful in how we manage those. In the same way, we leverage third parties as well to validate what our assumptions were on security, constantly going after our cloud service APIs, going after our mobile devices, and ensuring that what we bring to market in a connected appliance won't result in the stories we've seen already in the IoT space. That's a really big issue for us, and we're going to continue to do that because the vulnerabilities can happen. We want to make sure that we're ahead of them, and we'll continue to validate our security posture as we bring more and more appliances out. When you make as many appliances as the two of us do, imagine having all the refrigeration products in California cycle on simultaneously and what that could do. So it is an important part of our portfolio that we focus on.
That's great. And I have one final question for both of you, and maybe I'll start with Chris first. What's next? What have you guys are both the embodiment of two companies that are kind of leaping into the unknown, leaping into a very different way of doing things. So I think it's a really inspirational story. What have you, maybe one takeaway that you've learned, something that you've learned already in the process that you're excited to kind of pivot or just continue on with that knowledge?
I've said it in other panel sessions. Everything that we do is user-driven, and it has to be. It can't be innovations for innovation's sake. I find that gimmicky approaches don't sell products; they just increase cost. And if it's not something that's usable, I'm not going to build it in. So we're very, very focused from the beginning of any ideation session all the way through delivery that the user experience is captured every step of the way. And so maybe it's not a new learning, but it's probably a heightened sense of focus, especially as connected comes into play, because in many cases the use case for a connected appliance might be dubious to the user. It's very beneficial to me as a maintainer of products because I have millions and millions of them in the field. But we want to make sure we provide an experience that user is delighted with when they take it home. And it really has to be part of the overall thought process of a product as it goes to market. Great.
Larry?
Well, to check out what's next, go to our website. Join us. I think that's the big thing with FirstBuild. We announced just this week that we're coming out with precision bakeware that'll actually work in concert with our precision cooking modes on our new wall oven. It'll be the first, we believe, that's been developed that'll actually measure the temperature of the baked good. And you can start, you don't have to buy as many toothpicks now, right? We're going to try to make it to where you can walk away.
But that was so cost prohibitive, all those toothpicks.
We're one tree at a time. Come on.
What a heart. What a giver.
When we look at that and just other, we're driven by the solutions that we solve for people. And I think that's really what I feel is next for us, is that we want to continue that communication. We want to continue to find those things that delight customers and are tough to find other places.
That's great. I love that both of your end comments sort of echo each other. It's a nice ending to our little panel. We have maybe time for one or two questions if anybody has a question for our esteemed panelists. Yes?
Yeah, from either side, you talk about stumbles, failures that haven't worked so well.
Stumbles or failures?
I can go. How many people here drink cold brew coffee? Why didn't you buy our device that we put on?
Please stand up one at a time and explain yourselves.
So I think with these types of innovations in what you do, you have to have enough courage in a system to be able to try things, understand that sometimes you don't get the right product, but learn from that, listen to the consumer, and quite frankly, just try to do that at a scale that you can continue to innovate.
Thank you both so much for being here. Did you want to add something really quick?
No,
Okay.
that's perfect.
Our clock is flashing red and it looks quite angry. Thank you guys so much, and thank you.